The fatigue that creeps in, the reduced stamina, the slower thinking, the colder hands and feet, the diminished performance, these are not random signs of aging, they are often the silent language of narrowing arteries. Medical research has shown that by the time a man reaches his 60s, arterial flexibility can be reduced by as much as 30 to 50% compared to his younger years. The vessels that once expanded easily now stiffen, blood no longer moves with the same force or efficiency, and when circulation declines, every organ pays the price. The heart must work harder, the brain receives less oxygen, muscles fatigue faster, recovery slows, and here is the shocking truth: cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death in men worldwide, responsible for nearly 1 in 3 male deaths. Yet long before a heart attack ever strikes, the warning signs are already present: poor circulation, endothelial dysfunction, low nitric oxide levels. Nitric oxide is a molecule so small you cannot see it, yet it determines whether your blood vessels constrict or relax. When nitric oxide production drops, arteries tighten, blood pressure rises, blood flow decreases, vitality fades, but nature, in its quiet wisdom, has provided tools that directly support this system, and one of the most powerful is sitting in something as simple as a walnut. Walnuts are not just food, they are a biochemical package designed to support vascular health. Rich in alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid, walnuts have been shown in multiple clinical studies to improve endothelial function. The endothelium is the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. When it becomes damaged, plaque begins to form. When it is nourished, arteries remain flexible and responsive. In controlled trials, diets enriched with walnuts have demonstrated measurable improvements in flow-mediated dilation, a key indicator of arterial flexibility. That means the arteries physically open more effectively, allowing greater blood delivery throughout the body. And greater blood delivery means greater life in every cell. Walnuts are also a natural source of L-arginine, an amino acid that the body uses to produce nitric oxide. Research has consistently shown that higher L-arginine intake is associated with improved vascular tone and better circulation. When nitric oxide levels rise, vessels relax. When vessels relax, oxygen moves freely. Imagine what that means for a man over 60. More oxygen to the brain may support sharper thinking and clearer memory. Studies link omega-3 intake with reduced cognitive decline and lower risk of neurodegenerative disease. The brain consumes roughly 20% of the body's oxygen supply. Even a slight reduction in circulation can affect mental clarity. Supporting blood flow is not just about the heart, it is about preserving independence and mental sharpness. More oxygen to the muscles means improved endurance and faster recovery. Aging muscle tissue is particularly sensitive to reduced blood supply. Research shows that impaired circulation contributes to sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss. By improving vascular delivery, nutrients and amino acids reach muscle fibers more efficiently. And then there is performance. Erectile dysfunction affects a significant percentage of men over 60, and in many cases it is not primarily a hormonal problem. It is a vascular problem. The penile arteries are smaller than coronary arteries, meaning they often show signs of dysfunction earlier. Reduced nitric oxide availability directly affects vascular dilation. Studies confirm that endothelial dysfunction is one of the earliest markers of cardiovascular disease. In other words, circulation issues often appear in performance before they appear in the heart. When walnuts support nitric oxide production and vascular elasticity, they are supporting the very mechanism required for healthy performance. But walnuts do more than enhance blood flow. They contain powerful polyphenols and antioxidants that reduce oxidative stress. Oxidative stress damages arterial walls, accelerating plaque buildup. Chronic inflammation and oxidative damage are central drivers of atherosclerosis. Research shows that regular walnut consumption reduces inflammatory markers such as C-reactive protein. Less inflammation means slower arterial aging, and here is something even more compelling. In large population studies, Individuals who regularly consume nuts, including walnuts, show significantly lower risk of heart disease and all-cause mortality. Some analyses suggest up to a 20% reduction in cardiovascular risk with consistent nut consumption. That is not a trivial number, that is life-changing. Yet the power of walnuts lies not in dramatic doses, but in daily consistency. 4 to 6 raw walnuts a day provide a meaningful amount of omega-3s, antioxidants, and L-arginine without overwhelming the digestive system. When soaked overnight, their digestibility improves, enzyme inhibitors are reduced, mineral absorption becomes easier. For men whose digestion has slowed with age, this simple step can make all the difference. Think of this as vascular training through nutrition. Just as muscles respond to repeated movement, arteries respond to repeated nourishment. Day after day, supportive compounds accumulate their effect. Endothelial cells repair, oxidative damage lessens, flexibility improves, and something remarkable begins to happen. Energy feels steadier, walking feels easier, recovery feels faster, mental clarity sharpens, not because of stimulation, but because of restored flow. The tragedy is that many men accept declining vitality as inevitable. They assume slowing down is the natural course of aging, yet research repeatedly shows that vascular aging can be influenced by diet and lifestyle. Arteries are living tissue, they respond to what we feed them. You cannot control every genetic factor, but you can influence the environment within your bloodstream. Every bite either promotes inflammation or reduces it. Every meal either stiffens arteries or supports flexibility, and sometimes transformation begins not with medication, but with a handful of walnuts eaten consistently, quietly, faithfully. Imagine the cumulative effect after 30 days. Imagine the arteries gradually responding. Imagine nitric oxide levels rising. Imagine oxygen reaching places that have been deprived. Circulation is life. When blood flows freely, vitality follows. A man over 60 does not need to surrender his strength. He needs to protect his vessels. He needs to nourish the very highways that deliver life to every organ. And it may begin with something as humble as a walnut, shaped like the brain, nourishing the heart, supporting the vessels, and reminding us that aging does not have to mean decline. Because when circulation improves, everything changes. A man may still look solid on the outside, but inside something profound is changing. Muscle fibers are shrinking, nerve conduction is slowing, testosterone levels are gradually declining, and one of the most overlooked reasons is not age itself, it is mineral depletion. Research shows that beginning around age 30, men can lose 1 to 2% of their muscle mass per year if inactive. By 60, this condition known as sarcopenia accelerates. But here is the startling truth: muscle loss is not only about lack of exercise, it is deeply connected to micronutrient status, especially magnesium and zinc. Magnesium participates in more than 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. It regulates muscle contraction and relaxation. It stabilizes ATP, the energy currency of every cell. Without adequate magnesium, ATP cannot function efficiently. Without efficient ATP, muscles fatigue rapidly. Studies estimate that up to half of older adults consume less magnesium than recommended. Modern soil depletion, processed foods, and digestive inefficiencies all contribute. The symptoms often go unnoticed: mild fatigue, poor sleep, irritability, muscle weakness. They are brushed off as just getting older. But the body is not asking for age acceptance, it is asking for nourishment. Almonds are one of the richest natural sources of magnesium available in whole food form. A modest handful delivers a meaningful dose of this critical mineral alongside vitamin E, zinc, and plant-based protein. Vitamin E is not merely a vitamin, it is a potent fat-soluble antioxidant that protects cell membranes from oxidative damage. After 60, oxidative stress rises significantly. Free radicals damage muscle tissue, vascular tissue, and even Leydig cells in the testes, the very cells responsible for testosterone production. Testosterone does not vanish suddenly, it declines gradually, often about 1% per year after the age of 30. By 60, levels may be significantly lower than in youth. Low testosterone is associated with reduced muscle mass, decreased bone density, low libido, poor mood, and diminished drive. Zinc is a crucial cofactor in testosterone synthesis. Clinical studies demonstrate that zinc deficiency is directly linked to reduced testosterone levels in men. In fact, controlled trials have shown that correcting zinc deficiency can significantly increase testosterone concentrations. Almonds provide zinc in combination with healthy fats that enhance absorption, and unlike synthetic supplements that deliver isolated compounds, whole foods provide a synergistic matrix of nutrients working together. But there is more. Insulin resistance becomes more common with age. Blood sugar regulation weakens. Elevated glucose damages blood vessels and accelerates inflammation. Chronic high insulin levels suppress testosterone production and promote abdominal fat accumulation, which further converts testosterone into estrogen through aromatase activity. This creates a vicious cycle. Lower testosterone leads to more fat gain. More fat gain leads to lower testosterone. Almonds, rich in monounsaturated fats and fiber, have been shown in research to improve glycemic control. Studies reveal that regular almond consumption can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes and improve insulin sensitivity. Stable blood sugar supports hormonal stability. Then there is the nervous system. Magnesium plays a central role in calming the nervous system by regulating NMDA receptors and supporting GABA activity. Poor magnesium status is associated with sleep disturbances and heightened stress response. Sleep, however, is when the majority of daily testosterone release occurs. Disrupted sleep means disrupted hormone recovery. When a man over 60 sleeps poorly, his body cannot repair efficiently, growth hormone secretion declines, testosterone pulses weaken, muscle protein synthesis slows. The next day begins with fatigue, not strength. By restoring magnesium intake through foods like almonds, the nervous system stabilizes, sleep deepens, recovery improves, hormones find rhythm again. Consider bone health as well. After 60, fracture risk rises dramatically. Testosterone plays a role in maintaining bone density, but so do magnesium and vitamin E. Magnesium influences calcium metabolism and bone structure. Low magnesium levels are associated with increased osteoporosis risk. Strength is not just about muscle, it is about skeletal integrity. It is about being able to stand tall, walk confidently, and resist falls. Almonds also provide plant-based protein essential for maintaining muscle mass. Research shows that older adults require slightly higher protein intake to stimulate muscle protein synthesis effectively. Combined with resistance exercise, adequate protein slows sarcopenia progression, but digestion changes with age. Stomach acid production may decline, enzyme secretion may weaken. This is why soaking almonds overnight can enhance digestibility and mineral bioavailability. Removing the skins after soaking further reduces compounds that may interfere with absorption. This is not superstition, it is biochemistry. Every almond consumed is not merely a snack. It is a mineral delivery system. It is a protective shield against oxidative stress. It is a stabilizer of blood sugar. It is a quiet supporter of hormonal balance. And here is something few men are told. Chronic low-grade inflammation accelerates aging at the cellular level. Inflammatory cytokines interfere with testosterone production and muscle maintenance. Almonds contain anti-inflammatory compounds shown in studies to reduce markers such as CRP. Lower inflammation supports anabolic signaling pathways necessary for muscle repair. Imagine the cumulative effect of small daily intake, 6 to 10 soaked almonds each morning, day after day, week after week. Magnesium levels gradually replenish, zinc stores stabilize, blood sugar swings diminish, sleep deepens, recovery improves. the body begins to remember what balance feels like. This is not about dramatic transformation in a week. It is about steady restoration over months. It is about giving aging cells the raw materials they require to function optimally. A man over 60 does not need to chase stimulants for energy. Caffeine may excite the nervous system temporarily, but it does not rebuild muscle fibers. It does not repair oxidative damage. It does not restore depleted minerals. True vitality comes from inside the cell. It comes from ATP production supported by magnesium. It comes from hormone synthesis supported by zinc. It comes from cellular protection supported by vitamin E. Strength is built in silence through daily nourishment. There is dignity in aging with resilience. There is power in understanding that decline is not always destiny. Many aspects of aging are modifiable through nutrition and lifestyle. Research continues to show that dietary patterns rich in nuts are associated with lower mortality and better overall metabolic health. And perhaps the most compelling fact of all, men who maintain muscle mass into older age have significantly lower risk of disability, hospitalization, and early mortality. Muscle is not vanity, it is survival tissue. So when you look at a simple almond, do not see a snack, see a strategy, see a mineral reserve, see a shield against unnecessary decline. Every soaked almond is a quiet investment in strength. Every bite is a signal to your body that it is supported. Every consistent day builds resilience. Aging does not have to mean fragility. With the right nourishment, strength can be preserved, hormones can be supported, and vitality can remain steady long after 60. And sometimes that preservation begins with something as humble, as accessible, and as scientifically grounded as a handful of almonds. There is a silent gland at the base of your neck that determines how alive you feel each morning. It weighs less than an ounce. You rarely think about it, but it governs the speed of your metabolism, the warmth of your body, the sharpness of your mind, and the strength of your drive. It is the thyroid. And after the age of 60, it often begins to slow, not dramatically, not loudly, but subtly. You feel colder than others in the same room. You wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep. Your thoughts feel slightly foggy. Your motivation dips. Your pulse feels softer. These are not just normal aging symptoms. In many cases, they are signs of reduced thyroid efficiency. Clinical data shows that thyroid dysfunction becomes increasingly common with age. Subclinical hypothyroidism, where thyroid levels are borderline low, affects a significant portion of older adults, often without obvious diagnosis. Even mild thyroid impairment can reduce metabolic rate, decrease energy production, and contribute to fatigue. The thyroid produces hormones known as T4 and T3. But here is the critical detail most people never hear. T4 is largely inactive. It must be converted into T3, the active hormone that enters cells and stimulates metabolic activity, and that conversion depends heavily on one trace mineral, selenium. Without adequate selenium, the enzyme responsible for converting T4 into T3 cannot function properly. The result is sluggish cellular energy, even if thyroid hormone production appears normal on paper. Brazil nuts are one of the most concentrated natural sources of selenium on the planet. Just 1 to 2 nuts can provide the full daily requirement. This is not a supplement in a capsule. It is a whole food grown in selenium-rich soil, particularly in the Amazon region, where the Brazil nut tree draws minerals deep from the earth. Selenium is not only required for thyroid hormone activation, it is also a powerful antioxidant through its role in glutathione peroxidase, one of the body's most important antioxidant enzymes. After 60, oxidative stress increases dramatically. Mitochondria, the energy factories inside your cells, accumulate damage over time. Free radicals impair their function. When mitochondria decline, energy declines. Selenium helps neutralize oxidative stress at the cellular level. It protects tissues from damage, it reduces inflammation, it supports immune function, and there is compelling research showing that adequate selenium status is associated with reduced risk of thyroid disorders and improved immune resilience. In fact, selenium deficiency has been directly linked to impaired thyroid function and increased inflammatory activity within the gland itself. Now consider what this means for a man over 60. When thyroid efficiency drops, metabolic rate slows, calories are burned less effectively, fat accumulates more easily, energy dips, motivation fades, mood can darken. Metabolism is not just about weight, it is about cellular vitality. Every cell in your body depends on thyroid hormones to regulate oxygen consumption and energy production. When T3 levels are optimal, mitochondria generate ATP efficiently. When T3 is insufficient, cellular energy output declines. That feeling of heaviness in the afternoon, that mental fog that wasn't there at 45, that unexplained fatigue despite normal blood work, it may be linked to subtle thyroid underperformance compounded by micronutrient deficiency. And here is another striking fact. Selenium also plays a role in testosterone production. Oxidative stress within the testes can impair Leydig cell function, reducing testosterone synthesis. Selenium's antioxidant properties help protect these cells from damage. Some studies suggest that adequate selenium intake supports healthy sperm parameters and male reproductive health. This means that one trace mineral influences both metabolic energy and aspects of male vitality. But here is where caution matters. Selenium is powerful. Too little is harmful. Too much is also harmful. The difference between deficiency and excess is narrow. This is why Brazil nuts are so remarkable. They offer a naturally balanced delivery system. 1 or 2 per day is sufficient. Not a handful, not a bowl, just 1 or 2. This is not about excess, it is about precision. Think about the elegance of that. A tiny nut, eaten daily, providing the exact mineral required to activate metabolic hormones and protect against oxidative damage. Research on nut consumption in general shows associations with reduced inflammation, improved lipid profiles, and lower risk of chronic disease. But Brazil nuts stand apart because of their selenium density. Inflammation is a driver of aging. Chronic low-grade inflammation, often called inflammaging, accelerates tissue breakdown and metabolic dysfunction. Selenium-dependent enzymes help modulate inflammatory pathways. Reduced inflammation means improved cellular communication and better hormone signaling. Now imagine the cumulative effect of consistent intake. Day after day, you supply your thyroid with the mineral it requires. You support the enzymes that activate energy at the cellular level. You strengthen antioxidant defenses. You reduce silent inflammatory stress. And gradually something shifts. Morning energy feels steadier. Mental clarity improves, cold sensitivity lessens, motivation returns in subtle but noticeable ways. This is not a stimulant surge, it is not artificial excitement, it is foundational support. Small habits shape long-term physiology. Large dramatic interventions often fail because they are unsustainable, but 1 Brazil nut per day is sustainable. It is simple. It is accessible. It is profoundly strategic. In populations with adequate selenium intake, thyroid-related disorders are significantly less common. In regions where soil selenium is low, deficiency rates and thyroid complications are markedly higher. Geography influences health more than most people realize. Yet in a modern global food system, you have access to what once depended solely on soil conditions. 1 Brazil nut is not glamorous. It will not trend on social media. It will not promise overnight transformation, but it works quietly at the level of enzymes, mitochondria, and hormone activation. After 60, the body does not respond well to extremes. It responds to steady nourishment. Energy is not created by willpower. It is generated in mitochondria. Hormones are not sustained by motivation. They are sustained by micronutrients. The thyroid is your metabolic conductor. Selenium is one of its essential instruments, and sometimes preserving vitality into older age is less about doing more and more about supplying what has been missing all along. 1 small nut, 1 daily act, 1 mineral restoring biochemical balance. Over months, this consistency becomes resilience. The goal is not to fight aging, The goal is to support the systems that allow you to age with strength. And sometimes the difference between decline and endurance is measured not in grand gestures, but in one Brazil nut placed deliberately on your plate each day, a quiet commitment to cellular energy, hormonal harmony, and sustained vitality long after 60.